Welcome, folks, to another great edition of our Google Hangout brought to you by The Scoop. I am Dominic Barnes, the host, and today we will be going over UFC 177. This will be our preview, and with me here, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Bryan Greer. What's going on, sir?
Oh man, it's been a little rough time this last 48 hours. As you know, the dawn of gangster rap. Suge Knight was shot 6 times yesterday, and it's been a little rough time. I'm trying to fight through it. Do this video in his honor. Just want to let Vanilla Ice know we haven't forgot about you, son. So I'll be making a visit to talk to you about some things after this video.
It could be worse. You can always be Benson Henderson and, just get hit with one of them lefts, and then just be knocked out.
I have been training, so yeah, that can't be an option if Vanilla Ice has something to do with this, sad news about Suge Knight getting shot 6 times.
They did announce that he will be okay, so Suge Knight is
Thank
the man of
God.
many lives.
That's right, because yesterday I really didn't do much but pray for the man and try to give a phone call in, but the line was jammed.
All right, like I said earlier, we will be going over UFC 177 after the council UFC 176. We're not gonna go into that, but we're just gonna hit the major points of the event. Of course, it will be topped off with Dillishaw and Barao too. But before that, let's get the Bethe Correia versus Shayna Baszler. As we know, this is a very interesting fight only because of the storyline for the fight. As we all know, this is Baszler's official UFC debut, and she's a part of Ronda Rousey's Four Horsemen stable. Shout out to Arn Anderson. But at the same time, how this came about, Bet she made a statement after she won and beat dude. What was it, last month in Baltimore? If
Yeah,
I'm not
Checkmate.
mistaken.
Right.
As we know, the hand it wasn't a statement. It was just more like you know boom. That's all she did. But we all know what that meant. She's pretty much challenging all the members of the Four Horsemen. So with that being said, well, of course it's led by Ronda Rousey. So good luck with that. But Baszler, she stepped up. So now they're fighting. We're gonna get to it. First of all, most of Bet's wins has coming off decisions, and Baszler's has come off submission. So that'll be interesting for me to look at. I personally like Baszler in this one because she's bigger. Now she has lost her last 3 fights, which is not good coming to this one. But at the same time, I do like her in this one because she is bigger, she's more scrappier, and I mean, see, Correia does defend 83% of the takedowns attempted on her, which is not a number to scoff at. But at the same time, I think if Baszler gets her on the ground, she can work the ground and pound, do some damage on Correia. So I'm going to go with Baszler in this one, and I will say she will win by decision. That being said, I'm going to throw it to you. Who you got?
Well, actually, this fight I really do like because, like you said, Correa is challenging the Four Horsewomen, and she is undefeated. I love her striking. She goes out there and just bangs and just, puts it all out there. I'm actually going to go with Bethe Correia on this fight. Reason being, she has just looked great in all 3 of her wins in the UFC. Against Jessamine Duke, she just picked her apart, even though it went to a decision. Also, with this being Shayna Baszler's first official fight in over 2 years and first official fight in the UFC, I don't know if she's going to be ready for somebody like Correa, who's just got a very good, Muay Thai, game. And also, with her just come off of, the Ultimate Fighter 18, I don't know. I just think Correa just has a little too much for her, and it's gonna be hard. And I think if Correa wins this and finishes Baszler, she's gonna be in line for a title shot with now being her 4th straight win. But she has to finish this fight, I think, in order for her to face Ronda Rousey. But who wants that? So I'm gonna go with Bethe Correia. I'm going to say she's going to win this in the second round by TKO. I think she's really on a mission right here because she has looked good. So, yeah, that'll give Shayna Baszler more time to play Diablo 3 on Twitch, which she's been doing a lot of this week. Hopefully that's not her training, regiment to face Bethe Correia because it's going to be pretty tough if that's the truth.
Yeah, that info would have been viable before I made my decision, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to flip-flop. All
Oh
right.
yeah, Middle East has really been, showing a lot of that. Shout out to them for, showing on Twitch. I heard Jessamine Duke playing a lot of Diablo 3. They logged over 40 hours in the last week since it came out.
Wow. All right. Next
Yeah,
fight.
they're not a party.
Tony Ferguson versus Danny Castillo. This one's kind of a tough one for me to choose, only because I do like Danny Castillo, and I do like his rear naked choke, which is something that Tony Ferguson will need to be on the lookout for. However, with that being said, Ferguson is 5-1 in the UFC, and that first round knockout against Kuno was just
It was just vicious.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, Castillo has won 3 out of his last 4 fights. I mean, who can forget back in December though on UFC on Fox when him and Barboza had that epic match. He was the fight of the night, and I remember watching. I was like, good God, But at the same time, it should feel like deja vu for Ferguson, who was actually on the card the last time that Dillishaw and Barao fought. So this is like deja vu for him all over again. But and a lot of his fights actually ends in the first. Like the majority of his fights have actually ended in the first round. He hasn't really just had to get out of the first round a lot in his last few fights, if I can remember. So that could come into play, but at the same time, it's just something about Ferguson has the reach. He has the reach advantage. He's younger. He's defended 100% of takedowns against him in the last 6 fights, which means that you're not taking this dude down to the ground at all.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler. He's underrated. His wrestling is on point.
And that's another thing too, considering that Castillo, he's a wrestler too, but when he goes up against other wrestlers, he seems to not do as well because for him, that's his offense. Is trying to take you to the ground and wrestle with you. But as far as Ferguson goes, he uses his offense to set up his striking. So at the same time, I got Ferguson in this one, and I got him actually winning in the second round. So I'm going to throw it to you. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. Tony Ferguson, I love his boxing. He is very precision puncher. He really is accurate with his striking. His wrestling, he just doesn't get taken down. I mean, I've been watching this guy since he was on Tough, and he has just gotten so much better. Like you said, his last fight just came out, was on a mission to finish the dude. He had somewhere to be because he's easy working him. And I think Ferguson's going to win. And I got him winning by KO in the first round. I think he's going to put on another great a fight being on the main card of UFC 177 pay-per-view event. I think he's going to be very motivated to go out there. And he just continues to improve. And once he gets his striking going, as we've seen, you're going to go out. And I think against Castillo, that's going to happen. Castillo's a good fighter. He's won 3 of his last 4 fights. He's done a lot of good. He's a good wrestler, but his striking still a little bit some left to be desired about that. So, like I said, I'm going to go with Ferguson also on this. And I think if he wins this and finishes this, he's going to put him in the top 10 in the lightweight division, and it's going to probably set him up for more of a title contention fight if he wins this by KO.
Okay. With that being said, let's go to the main event. Pretty much is what everybody is watching UFC 177 for. TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barao 2. We can't talk about this without going back to the first one, which was back in May. Good God, it's like 3 months ago. As we all know, Dillashaw pretty much just destroyed Barao. It wasn't even close.
Not close at all.
He had this. That was Barao's first loss since 2005. I want to say he was on a
9 years.
Yeah, 9 years. He was on a 32 fight win streak, and he was overconfident. I will be saying I'm pretty sure he was overconfident. A lot of people didn't even think Dillashaw had a chance, but Dillashaw, he won by 5th round TKO, and like I said, I mean, if you go back to the fight, he landed 45% of his significant strikes compared to Barao, who only had 23%. He's younger, more energetic. Striking was phenomenal. The punch kick combinations he was throwing, he wasn't taking them down. He wasn't going to take Dillashaw down at all. And so it was just his footwork and his head movement. Dillashaw fought the perfect fight. Now, with this being said, before I go to Barao, I do say, me personally, I don't think a rematch so soon was the best idea, in my opinion. I mean, you do
Right.
have, for me, you do have Faber out there. You got Michael McDonald, even though he lost to Faber and Barao, but and my boy Rafael Assunção, who actually beat
Yes.
T.J. Dillishaw back in Brazil last year, and
He's the guy
he
that should
lost.
have got the shot.
Yes, he lost to Faber, but that was back in the WEC days. So you're in UFC now, so you can't really just use that. But I do like Assunção. I think he should have been the one to get the shot, but I digress from my point. I see this fight actually going a little bit the same as the first one. I don't think, Barao would just be that much of a – he'll be a little bit more focused. He had, but 3 months is really – for me, 3 months is not really that much of a time to train and prepare after taking such a beating that you haven't taken in 9 years. And people got to remember, the psyche too.
Hasn't
the
lost in a
mental
long
ass.
time.
Yeah, you haven't lost in a long
They
time.
got dominated.
You got dominated. Like, it was like, there's not a lot of fights that get stopped in the 5th round the way that one got stopped, especially in the title fight. So for that to happen to you, and for Dana White to crown you the best pound for pound fighter in the MMA, which in my opinion was dumb as crap, but that weighs on you. 3 months later, you're fighting the same dude in his hometown. By the way, we cannot forget that. And speaking of that, I'm gonna throw it to you, but I have something to say about that. Right after you get done. But for me, I think this one will go 5 rounds again. But I got Dillashaw winning this one once again. Who you got?
Yeah, this fight right here, Dillashaw, he was on point like I've never seen a fight before. I think that was the biggest upset in UFC history, honestly, and maybe MMA history, because nobody even had Dillashaw looking competitive against Brown, let alone winning.
No.
So for Dillashaw to go out there for 5 rounds and put him away in the 5th round, by the way, and his footwork, his striking, he made Brown just look like he just was nobody. He the striking everywhere, and he was just all over him. I mean, his combinations, everything was just crisp. And for Barao, they said that he had a hard time making weight. Now, that's something that Barao's had a hard time doing the last couple of fights, and I think that's something that will be an issue again, because it's been 3 months, and there's not a lot that can change in 3 months. You know what Dillashaw can do. You know what Barao can do.
And I don't know if you I didn't mean to cut you out, but I don't know if you remember when they announced that he made weight at the weight, not too long ago when he fought. I can't remember who he fought, but he looked like he was thankful that he made weight. Yeah, the first time they fought, they was doing the weigh-in, they announced his weight. He was like, "Oh, thank God," because I don't even think he knew that he was gonna make weight. That's not a good sign.
No. If you're struggling making weight, then your mind is not on the opponent. It's on trying to make sure that you don't get fined by the commission and that you make weight. And I think that's an issue for Barao. And he looked drained the last fight against Dillashaw. And remember, like you said, it's in his hometown this time. That's going to make a big difference. And I got Dillashaw winning again by TKO. I think in the 3rd round he's going to do it. He's just confident now. Yes. I don't think Barao is going to be in his head about what happened the first time, because he has nothing to go off the first fight that he can use as a positive against Dillashaw. There was nothing that he did good against Dillashaw. So for Barao, I think, like you said, it shouldn't be so quick to rematch this, but the UFC, that's just what they do. And with Barao, like you said, Dana White overhyping him, saying he's a pound-for-pound king and the best fighter in MMA and all that. They just went ahead and did the rematch. So I think Dillashaw is going to win this fight again. His footwork is something that was in the first fight that was just incredible. I mean, Barao just couldn't keep up. He was huffing and puffing by the 3rd round. He was out of gas. And, I mean, I thought Barao was going to steamroll him. I'm still in shock about how good Dillashaw looked against him. So, like I said, with that being said, I've got Dillashaw, remain the bantamweight champion and, finishing Barao in the 3rd round, because he just seems to have what it takes and have his number, and he seems to have the blueprint to beat Barao now.
Now, I do want to say something before we move on. Fight is in his hometown. Now, if some way that this fight goes to the judges, do you think that we'll have a UFC 171 situation where the judges will vote for the hometown kid, even if Barao do end up making it seem like a legit good fight.
That's a good question. Yeah, I do. The judges seem to have this kind of almost wrestler mentality where it's like, well, where is he from or what is he doing? And, you know, if it's a close fight, I do see Dillishaw still getting a nod, even though if Barao does come out and look very good. So that's something to keep an eye on, because if it does go to decision, that home crowd type of thing, just like with Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler, does go into effect.
Yes.
So if Barao wants to win this fight, I suggest he finish Dillishaw, because you don't want that home cooking judges to get involved in this, because as we see, it doesn't need to be a home advantage for judges to make a horrible decision in MMA, because they by far have the worst regulation when it comes to judging of any sport.
And that's why I want to wait until after you gave your official decision too, because I was thinking about that, and like we discussed the whole UFC 171. Watching that fight, it is no way that Robbie Lawler should have lost that fight. But they're in Dallas. Johnny Hendricks is the hometown kid. The crowd was crazy, and the judges know if they would have not gave Johnny Hendricks that fight, all hell would have broke loose. And they don't want to be a part of it. And I think that's something that these people, UFC, need to realize, because with how bad the judging has been lately, because it's always something. It's always either one or two fights that the judges get wrong, and the judging committee gets talked about or whatever. But it's consistent. Like, it's always been consistent, especially when you have a hometown fighter. Judges not gonna go against that, because they know it comes with that decision, even if the hometown fighter did lose. Now, I'm not saying it'll be in this case, because I do think Dillishaw wouldn't even let it get to that point. But at the same time, that's something you need to consider and think about, because it could happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on all that. That's something that needs to be taken into consideration, because as we see with the UFC and with MMA, that is something that has been a consistent error, and it seems that they cannot be unbiased. It's always slanted towards the hometown guy.
Now, that being said, big news for the UFC. Former Bellator champion Eddia Alvarez has signed with the UFC. Finally, it took long enough.
Yeah, it took half a decade, but we're there.
Yeah, we're finally there. It was announced August the 21st. That Tuesday morning, it was announced that Eddia Alvarez will not be resigning with Bellator, even though he had one fight left on his contract, I believe. Now, fast forward 10 hours later, Eddia Alvarez is signed with the UFC and will be fighting at UFC 178 against your boy. So, I don't know. First of all, before I get into it, I do want to say how impressed that I am with both Alvarez and Scott Coker, how they handled the situation. There was no bad blood.
Yes.
They talked it out. Eddia Alvarez, gave his opinion that, hey, I don't think I want to resign. It's not something that I can't be here long term. Scott was like, okay, we'll release you. Go ahead and do what you want to do. This could have got ugly, as we know with Alvarez previously when he was trying to join the UFC, and he was in that publicized contract dispute that lasted for about 2 years, and so that stopped him from signing with UFC the first time. So I do want to give props to both of them, because they handled it like grown men. Like, hey, they both put their cards on the table. They couldn't come to an understanding. Scott was like, hey, okay, well, you can go ahead and do what you want to do. It wasn't nothing. He didn't give him no clause of, well, you can't fight nowhere else for like a year or so after because it could have been that way. So like I said, I do applaud both of them for that. Now, that being said, UFC 178, that fight. I'm going to get your opinion on it first, because I know you probably want to touch on it just a little bit. Just give them a little taste of that fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Before that, yeah. Eddia Alvarez, I'm so glad that he's finally going to be in the UFC, because as we know, he's arguably the greatest, or not the greatest, but the best lightweight right now. He's had a couple of wars with Michael Chandler, a couple of the greatest fights in MMA history. That first fight is, to me, arguably the best fight ever in MMA history. If you haven't seen it, go back. It's on YouTube, greatest fight. And I'm just glad that he's going to finally get to go to where all of the best lightweights are, because as we know, back when BJ Penn was at the top, we thought that he would get to fight him, and we would have loved to see BJ Penn as prime against Eddia Alvarez because that would have been, I believe, one of the greatest fights ever. And now that he's finally over with the UFC, I think that this is only good things, for the UFC and for Eddia Alvarez. And that fight, UFC 178, that was announced with Donald Cerrone, that is going to be maybe the start of World War III. You got two strikers. You got Eddia Alvarez, who's a wrestler too, but that is not going to go to the judges. I can pretty much guarantee that. But yeah, that this is going to test Eddia Alvarez right out the gate, and also Donald Cerrone. Whoever wins this fight is right there in title contention, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, this is a win-win. And also, I do want to give kudos to Scott Coker, like you did. Handled it the right way. If Eddia Alvarez doesn't want to be in Bellator, why hold him there? If you're not going to re-sign, it only would make Bellator look bad to keep him there and to continue to make him fight until the contract's over. Then what if he left with a lightweight title? Then it makes Bellator look real bad. Your title holder leaves, and you're just left with egg on your face. Makes you look real bad. So like you said, kudos to Scott Coker for handling it the right way, being a professional about it, and allow him to be released and then sign with the UFC, which is, I'm pretty sure, very happy with this outcome. Finally, after I don't know how many years, getting Eddia Alvarez.
Yeah, like I said, UFC 178, we got Donald Cerrone with his kickboxing, Eddia Alvarez with his wrestling, and good God, what Cerrone did to Jim Miller at UFC Fight Night was ridiculous.
Yes, he's on a roll right now. He seems to finally have put it together.
Yeah, because that head kick to Jim Miller, I was just like, good Lord. So yeah, like we'll get to UFC 178. We'll talk more about that when we get down to it. But that's our UFC 177 preview. If you have any closing remarks, sir.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed that Scott Coker came out last week and said that he thinks that Kimbo Slice won't be signing with Bellator. Said that he thinks he's retired. That really broke my heart because back in the day, that was one of my favorite fighters. So shout out to Kimbo Slice. You ever want to join us on the hangouts and review some fights? I'm pretty sure now that you're retired, you have a free time. So yeah, hit us up. Get at me on Twitter because I know you're active on there. So Kimbo, open invitation.
Wow. Yeah, Kimbo Slice, the World Star Hip Hop Fight Champ. All right. With that being said, I am Dominic Barnes. You can find me on Twitter at FreshSnipe21. With me here, as always, is that guy right there.
Yeah, Bryan Greer. Catch me on Twitter at crunch_TYME.
You will be able to find this on thescoopzone.com. You can follow the Twitter page at TweetTheScoop. So we will see y'all next time for our 178 preview, or hey, maybe even before that. You never know when you're gonna see us. We'll see y'all later. Peace.